Hey there, everyone. This is Anish, and let's try to deploy your very first NFT smart contract on CRONOS blockchain. And yes, so why I chooses directly the NFT smart contract and not the basic is basically there are a lot of amazing tutorials out there which is going to teach you the basics and fundamentals of Solidity if you want to learn it. And because in these series, I'm more focused toward building over the Chronos blockchain, so you can learn how to build real time applications, real world utility projects over the blockchain over this blockchain. Okay, and why the NFTs first? Because NFTs are very important for any blockchain, and it's not different for the Chronos as well. You can see this is the NFT marketplace. If you are familiar with OpenSea, basically, which is the biggest NFT marketplace out there for the Ethereum and the Solana ecosystem. This one is for the Chronos, and it trade volume over $182 million, which is pretty big, I guess I should say. And yeah, so that's why I decided to build how you can create your own NFT marketplace, how you can create your own NFT smart contract. And the second why, because the first reason is very important because yeah, NFTs are really important for blockchains. And second, there are a lot of projects out there. There are a lot of people are out there which is looking for the smart contract, NFT smart contract developers. So it means it's going to help you to get freelancing jobs over the blockchain as well. So yeah, so this is on this so that's why I decided to show you how to write your own blockchain. Okay, how to write your own NFT smart contract. Okay, so the reason, yeah, so basically as you can see, I just imported the standard which is called the ERC721 directly from the GitHub. In Remix you can do that because ERC721 is a standard which is to write the NFTs. Okay, and just the Solidity version and the license type. Okay, so let's write down the contract. And as I said, it's a good practice. It's a good way. It's a way. Whatever you call the file name, you should name the same as the contract, which is good. And you need to import the ERC721. 721. Okay, so this is how you inherit the contract. Okay, inheritance is we can do inheritance like this into this smart contracts. Okay, so we are inheriting the code base and everything. Whatever the code is written over there, you can check it out this particular the GitHub to check. This is the standard. Okay, and I'm going to refer it for writing this particular smart contract as well. Okay, so let's write it down. First of all, the very basic what function the token ID itself. Okay, as you know, in NFTs there are something like called the token IDs. Okay, like if you mint anything, you got the token ID 0, and then other one can go the token ID 1 and 2 and so on. Okay, so that's why you need to define what's the token ID. Okay, and I defined it as variable which is called the UN token ID. Okay, let's write down the function which is called the main function. Okay, let's write it on the main function, which is should be a public, I guess, because public is basically anyone can call this function. And let's mint. Okay, so directly we can mint function, which is called the method sender, and which token ID you want to send. Okay, that's token ID number 0. Okay, so let me explain you where this mint underscore mint comes from. Basically, mint directly comes from this particular standard itself. So you can search for it underscore mint. And okay, I guess I will search. So yeah, this is the main function that you can see. This is actually comes from this particular the particular contract itself. Okay, which is this one is SafeMint, and we are using the SafeMint, which accepts us to send the address and the token ID, which we are doing it here. Okay. But problem is basically if anyone calls this, they got the same token ID, which is not they're not right because NFTs means the unique. So it means you need a unique token ID every time when somebody's call this function. So what we are trying to do, we are just updates its value from every time whenever somebody mints it. Okay, so whenever let's say I minted first, I got the NFT token ID number 0. If you minted and then because it's incremented to 1, so now you got the token ID number 1, and this is how so on things are working. Okay, but again, there's a problem. Anyone can mint maximum. Okay, there's no max limit for this particular contract, and there's no way we are accepting the funds for this NFT because we know that for minting NFT people charge some tokens. Okay, some Ethereum. Okay, so that's why I need to mention those things as well. Okay, so I'm using u into 56 and call it as a max supply. And let's say I want the collection to be at 10,000, similar as Board API Club. And let's say 256 for the price as well. Okay, so I want to mark it as 1 ether. Okay, so question is it really 1 ether? No, because we are deploying this contract to the CRONOS blockchain. So this becomes its native currency. So it means we are talking about the one CRONOS, okay, not 1 ether. So that's what is it. Okay. To accept the payments, we need to make any function that's payable function. Remember this thing. So we are accepting the Ethereum, we are accepting the CRONOS. That's why we write it down as a payable function. Yeah. Okay. But as you can see here, why we are saving the max supply, okay, but still people can mint it out. Okay, so we need to check something. It is a max. Is this token ID is into that limit or not? So for that, we're using required statements, which checks everything, which checks the condition for us. So required statements run in this way. You need to mention the condition in which the rest of the code start working. Okay, so if that condition fails, the rest of the lines, the rest of the code will not run. Okay, so let's say I want a max supply. The max supply should be greater than the max supply, sorry. The max supply. Okay, so I should write it down. The token ID which we are over there, token ID should be less than equals to the max supply. Otherwise, we are called the max supply exceeded. The max supplied exceeded. Okay, so you can name it whatever the error name that you want to write it down. So as you can see, for the token number ID, this condition runs. This condition is true, and we are not getting this error message, which is called the max applied. But when it is run 10,000, we are getting the error. Okay, because 10,000 is not less than max supply, and so no one can else mint more than 10,000 entities. Okay, so this is how we check for the condition. Second condition is basically either a sender is sending the right amount of CRONOS or not. So for that, we are checking the misrate value. The misrate value should be greater than equals to the price. Okay, we are accepting the high price, yeah, because we are good. So that's why we are asking. Okay, you can send the greater than or equals to the price. Otherwise, insufficient fund. We are calling it. Okay, that's an insufficient fund. Okay. So these are the two checks which you can see I run and it works. Okay, so let's deploy it over the directly over here and let's see what happens. Okay. Now let's see what's the issue. Okay, that's CRONOS NFT should be an abstract. Okay, the thing is basically when you're seeing this contract, this ERC721, and go to the constructor section, there you need to provide the constructor. Okay, and I'm not providing constructor to this particular thing, this particular function, but actually import inherited. Okay, so I need to call the constructor. I need to let's search for the constructor. Okay, then I need to call this constructor. Okay, so how we call it is here is by constructor. Okay, what is the name that you want? Okay, so I don't want to pass anything into my smart contract, but I need to pass to the ERC721. Okay, what should I name it? Let's say I want to name it as CRONOS and Nifty. And what's the symbol? It means what is the short form of it. So I call it CN, let's say. And yeah, so basically this is how the NFTs works. Okay, so okay, there's some problem. Okay, I need to define this as well. Okay, mistake. Uh, Variable function modified declaration accepted, solidity constructor. Okay, what's the issue? What is the issue? Let me search for it. Modified declaration 21, ERC 721. Okay, so yeah, basically I added this, which is wrong. Yeah, so now it works, it compiles successfully. Let's compile it. And as you can see, it shows the green tick, which is it means it runs successfully. Okay, so let's deploy it over the virtual machine right now, and then after that I show you how to deploy it over the testnets as well. But yeah, from where these functions are coming from, these functions are directly coming from the SIM21A. And this is a function that we defined, which is called the mint functions. And let's try to mint. Okay, and now let's see what happens. Okay, insufficient fund, because I'm not sending the amount of Ethereum. Okay, so let's send the amount of the CRONOS, which is basically I already told you, which should be an Ethereum. And let's try to do it. And now, as you can see, this mint's done. Okay, and you can go to the token ID. Just go to the token ID, which actually keep tracks of the tokens that we are using. So what happens is basically I made by default. What happens, each and everything variable in this is private over here. So to make it public, so you can also get them out. You can define it as public. So let me define everything as public, so we can use it, deploy it again. Oh, okay. So max applies 10,000. You can see that token ID is right now 0. Okay, so let's mint the NFT. That's mint. Yeah, it's minted. And now token ID is moved to 1. Okay, so in this way, you can keep track of which token ID is there. So whenever somebody's next come, they got the token ID number 0. You can also see that, okay, who's the owner of that token ID. So you can see this C4. The C4 is this one. Okay, so let's change the address to this C2 and let's try to mint again with this one. So I'm sending Ether only one, mint again, and you can see the token ID number one is hosted by the CB2 and this CB2. Okay, so yeah, it's pretty much nice. But there are other things as well into the smart contract, which is not right, which is about, okay, who's the owner and how you can change these things when once they are first deploy over the mainnet. Okay, so this function is not, and the very important function, which is how we can see the images. Okay, where what are the metadata. Okay, so so let's try to, in this particular video, I'm going to show you not the owner part of it, but just to show how you can write the very important function, which is called the token URI. Basically, what happens is all these smart contracts, all these marketplaces are actually looking for this very special function, which is called the token URI. Okay, this token URI. Let's search for the token URI. Let's put the spelling. Yeah, as you can see this token URI. Okay, so what is happening is this function is internally calling this base URI function. Okay, and let's see what is this base URI. Okay, and this base URI actually returning the empty string. So what is base? What is it does it internally? What happens? Marketplace comes, they call this function and fetches the NFT, whatever the metadata inside it. Okay, but yeah, but here in this case, by default, there's nothing. Okay, there's no link in it. Okay, so that's why you need to define these two functions into your smart contract and need to define the proper way. Okay, so let's copy this function. Okay, let's copy this function, which is the base URI function. Let's copy it down. This is called the base URI and returns the return returns base URI. Okay, so let's say what is the base URI. So I call it as like token base URI. I call it. And now what is this? You can also define your base URI. Okay, so what is the metadata? Okay, you need to point to the links. Okay, where your NFTs are hosted. Okay, you need to pin that particular point. Either it's an IPFS link or it is any centralized link, but you need to point it over. Okay, over there. So let's say my NFTs are hold over my NFTs are holded over, like, let's say IPFS, something called content ID, whatever it is, content ID. You get it from the content ID, and this is how my things are hosted over the blockchain. Okay, so this is the token base URI, and this function. Now what happens, because we are actually overrided this function, which is called the internal this function. So what basically happens from this point is so I need override this, because as you can see, basically this function returns the empty string. Okay, but we need to override it because we are actually returning our own variables. So we need to override this function. So let's override it. Okay, so what's the spelling of override? Okay, so that's how we can write override. Okay, so now what happens is basically this function is going to override and this returns this particular thing. Okay, so the next function which we need to override is the token URI itself. So let's write down over here, come to this particular function. What's happening with Firefox? Okay, yeah. So as you can see, this token URI, I need to redirect it. I need to send the token ID as well. So uh, let's rename this token ID because otherwise sometimes it's created the issue. So let's rename it as the token IDs, or maybe call the NFT token ID. I think that's a better name for it. Let's write it down as well. So I'm going to NFT token ID, whatever you want to call it, because I don't just want to mess with the same name for the contract. So I just redirect it to the same token ID for safety purpose. Yeah. Yeah, so you can see this function receives a token ID which is like 0, 1, 2 or something is like that, or we can return the base URI, and now from this base it is going to return this token IDs and not the empty. So let's say if you can go to the token URI, let's go to the token URI for this time, which where we are not adding this function, and you add token ID and it returns string, nothing in it. Okay, so that's bad. Okay, this is not how things working. Okay, you need some sort of URL. Okay, when marketplace comes and they call, okay, for zero number token ID, what is the link for it, and they say, okay, that's an empty. Okay, there's nothing to show, and this is how things are working. But now what happens, we override these functions, and what it does, if there's anything, okay, if we got the base URI from this function, internally it calls this functions, and now this function returns a token base URI, which is basic we already defined as this URL. So this base URI comes over here. If the length of that is greater than 0, we are going to ABI code encode back. This is a way of how you can concatenate strings in Solidity. There's no easy way to do it, and that's why I do it. And this is how we are going to return it. Okay, but for some reason, let's say your NFT collections only have just only one kind of metadata. Okay, you can already that. Okay, sometimes there are metadata which changes, like there are multiple images. Let's say, for example, in this particular NFT collection, there are different images for each token IDs. Okay, but there are some collection which only offers you just only one image. Okay, so for how you can do that? Okay, so you can, instead of this thing, what you can do, you can, no, we are not using this thing, and you just return the nothing in it, and you just returns the base here itself. Yeah, you don't have to return the base, you don't have to do anything. Okay, in the next couple of videos, I'm going to show you, because this is how the revealed NFTs comes into the picture. Okay, what happens, there's unrevealed NFT contract, so you cannot see anything, you just see the demo images over there. After the complete minting, you call again, calling these kind of function from the owners, or from the owner level, and it changed the UI. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that in the next video. But in this particular video, for the simplicity purpose, let's say this function returns this simple token ID. Okay, nothing more than that. So yeah, so now what's the issue? Okay, so I'm somewhere, I don't know. Okay, so I guess I missed. Okay, so I missed this, and let's deploy it again. Expression CRONOS NFT returns the BCUI. And okay, so basically what is happening, this BCUI, this is the thing, and string. Okay, so let's try to wrap it around the string. Simple. Okay, so I guess I'm doing something wrong. Okay, so yeah, so you don't need this line. Okay, and I'll show you in the next video how to use the dynamic, which means like slash IPFS slash content ID slash 0.json, 1.json, 2.json for the different IDs. You got the different NFTs, different image, yeah, image metadata. But for this case, we are not doing it. We're just showing the same, exactly the same token IDs. Okay, so let's do it. And now, as you can see, now I have created everything. Let's redeploy this contract. Okay, it's compiling. Now it's done. Uh, let's delete this one and let's redeploy it again. Come back to this. And now whenever you mention, okay, so this first thing, okay, this gives an error because you are saying invalid token ID because we didn't mint anything. So let's mint the token ID which with the ether. Let's mint it out. So now when it comes to this token URI, and now you can see this is how we got the token ID. Okay. So yeah, so this is the way how you can create your own NFT NFT things. But yes, it is not secure at all. There's no way you can update this contract. There's no way to get the funds from this contract. So basically, this function is really important. If you're creating it, just make a just learn this function. This is really important. So just learn this function by heart. Don't forget this function, write it down. This function, make it public. Okay, make it public and basically, okay, so how you can withdraw and where it is you are going to withdraw this function. Okay, so let's say, so this is a way of writing rule and succeed or whatever, like send whatever you want to, and that's to take the next variable. You can skip this variable and you can write variable. You can define the contract. You can define the address over here, whatever the address that you want to send it over to. Okay, you can call it, and basically this function takes the value, and that value should be the address of this. Basically, this address dot just defines this contract address, and you can call the balance on this contract. So basically, it gives you the uh yes the actual balance of this particular thing. Okay, I guess I'm writing something wrong. Okay, this is a of value, and then you define this. Okay, and you can require it out as well. So if send is there, it just runs. Don't do anything, otherwise failed. Okay, just to get the transaction fails. Yeah, what's the issue? Type, okay, conversion not allowed it. Okay, so basically, yeah, I'm not, because the issue is of this particular thing. So that's only the reason. So you need to define the actual address for this thing. So let me copy paste the address over here likely. So maybe now it works. Yeah, so let's try to convert it into address. Not allowed from the literal strings. Okay, so I guess there's some. Let's define it over here. I don't know the what's the so let's define the address directly over here, and we call it the owner directly over here, and let's define this contract. Okay, so yeah, and we call this owner variable of that owner. Yeah, it should work. So okay, I guess owner o w n e r. So I guess I'm writing it in the wrong way. Then only the reason we are calling the variable, we are calling the call function, we are calling the value on it, the balance on it. And okay, so why I'm not sending the empty data. Okay, so we need to send the empty string over here as well. So now, yeah, so yeah, it actually withdraws whatever this contracts and whatever the amount of chronos that you receive into this contract. You just, anyone can call this function, I know anyone call it, but it sends to this particular address, which is the owner of this, which whatever the time of deployment you creating the owner. Like, it's just to say this is not the owner of the contract, still the owner only who deploys the contract. There's, we need to transfer the ownership. So in the next video, we are going to see how to write those ownership and everything into this particular NFT smart contract to make it more secure. And yes, and the next video we also try to, okay, how to set these values as well, because now they are the hard coded, but owner can do a lot of things. And the next thing is how to make our dynamic NFTs and using this thing. So yeah, thanks for watching this particular video. If you want to deploy it, it's very simple. Just select the, instead of using it, injected with providers, and now you can see it's 49, and you just need to deploy it, and it asks you for the payments, and you can just give some certain chronos to deploy this contract to the chronos testnets, and let's see what happens, and see it's pending. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know still if there's any testnets to show the NFTs into the Chronos blockchain. But yeah, if I figure it out, I will share it with you as well. Yeah. So yeah, it's confirmed. And yeah, it's confirmed. It's working. So thank you for watching this video, guys. If you like this video, please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel for for more thing about Chronos, and let's learn it together. Let's until then build, and see you in the next one. Have a nice day. Bye bye.